Okay, we just learned how to simplify a radical or a square root. Those are words we use interchangeably. So now we're going to do some basic operations of multiplying, adding, and subtracting radicals or square roots. So you can see here for multiplying, we're going to multiply the numbers that are outside the radical sign. Then we're going to multiply the numbers that are inside the radical sign. And then we're going to check and see, can we simplify it or not? So if I have a number times a square root, I'm going to rewrite that just without that multiplication dot. Okay, and anytime you see a whole number out front times a square root, or beside a square root, that means multiplication or times. I can multiply square root times square root. So in this case, it would just be 15. I cannot simplify that anymore. There's no perfect number that goes into 15, so that one is completed. If you can just remember number times number and square root times square root. So here I have a number 2 and I have the number 5. I can multiply those together, and the square root is all by itself 10 square root of 3. Number times number. Now sometimes it's helpful to know in front of a square root, if there's no number there, it's an automatic 1. So I just have 2 times 1, which is 2. Number times number. Square root times square root is going to give me 15. That's my final answer. Number times number. Square root times square root. And the square root of 15 is already simplified, so I am done. You can see I'm just going through every time. Number times number, square root times square root. So I have 3. And then square root of 5 times square root of 20 is 100. I know 100 is a perfect square, so I'm going to break down the 100. Bring this down so you don't forget it. Actually, I don't even need to break it down, do I? Okay, because it's already perfect. So the square root of 100 is just a plain 10. Again, there's no square root over that. So this is 3 times 10, which is 30. Just a plain old 30, no square roots over it. 4 times 1, square root of 3 times square root of 6 is square root of 18. I have to simplify 18, and you'll find that there are some that are just common. They just keep popping up over and over again, and 18 is one of those. So I can break down 18 into 9 times 2. Remember, I want to break it down so that the perfect one is first. You know, I can also take 3 times 6 to get 18, but neither 3 or 6 is perfect, so that doesn't do me any good. Square root of 9 is a 3. I still have this 4 out front. That's a times. Square root of 2 just breaks down. 4 times 3 is 12, square root 2. So just kind of recap that real quick. So number times number, square root times square root. I can simplify the square root of 18 break it down into square root of 9 times square root of 2. I chose that pair because 9 is perfect. Square root of 9 breaks down into the whole number 3. I had a whole number here. 4 times 3 is 12, square root of 2. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is square root of 36, which is 6. Now you'll see that there's kind of a pattern there. Square root of 6 times square root of 6. In other words, the square root times itself will become that number. So for example, square root of 13 times the square root of 13 is going to equal just a plain old 13. All right. So going over here, this means I want to take the square root of 5 and square it. So if I would write that out, I'd have square root of 5 times square root of 5. That's what that exponent means. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25, which is 5. See the pattern? You don't even need to do this step. Just go straight from here to here. Square root times square root. Square root times itself is going to be that whole number. Number times number. Square root times square root. So square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just 2. I already had the 49 from the 7 times 7. When I multiply those together, I'm going to get 98. Done. Going to rewrite this one out so I can see it. 3 square root of 2 times 3 square root of 2. Number times number. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. That results in 18. So here's kind of the summary of this also. So square root of x times square root of x is always going to be just an x. So if I replace the x with the number, square root of 99 times square root of 99 is 99. Here is the exponent form of this. So square root of x times square root of x is, again, going to be x. For adding and subtracting, we treat it similar to like variables, like 1x plus 2x equals 3x. Variables can only be added or subtracted if they're exactly the same. Same thing with radicals. I can only add and subtract if the square roots are exactly the same. So for example here, I've got square root of 6 on both of these terms. So I'm going to take 2 plus the 7, and I'm going to put those together. I can actually add those front numbers. That's going to give me 9 square root of 6. You don't have to do this step. I'm just showing it to be helpful for the notes. Square root of 5 here, square root of 6 here, and square root of 5 here. So the two that have the square root of 5 would be considered like radicals or like terms. I can add or subtract those together. Again, I'm just going to do that with the front numbers. 3 and a plus 8 is 11. And I'm just going to keep it square root of 5. Just like if we were adding an x, I would leave it. And then minus, I'm just going to copy the other one down. And while it looks kind of weird, that is my final answer. I cannot add those two together. Here we've got a little calculating to do first. So this is a perfect. So this means negative 2 times 5 minus the square root of 196. 196 is also perfect, and that's going to be 14, I believe. So I'm going to do multiplying first. So negative 10 minus 14 is going to give me negative 24. Once you stop the video now and do this last one, you're going to have to simplify both of them and then see if you can add them together. All right, so we're back. We're going to separate the square root of 18 into 9 and 2, plus we're going to separate 50 into 25 and 2. So again, there's other numbers that multiply or other factors that give me 50, but 25 is the highest perfect. So this is going to simplify to 3 square root of 2. This is going to be 5 square root of 2. I can add these two together because they're both square roots of 2, 8 square root 2.